Aloha and welcome to Challenge Accepted, a podcast where we challenge each other to a new movie or show every week. I'm Thomas and I'm here with Frank.
Hey everybody, today we're going to be talking about Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban from 2004. This is part of our John Williams month, so we're going to be discussing a lot of John Williams' impact on this movie, and we'll be discussing how this is a big tonal shift for the franchise. Where does this rank in your Harry Potter rankings?
You know what's funny? Like, as we were going through it, and you probably hear too much about it on this episode, annoyingly sorry, but it was an awesome trip. We got to go to London, me and my wife, this past Christmas, and so we got to tour Warner Brothers Studios, and this movie was kind of lower from what I remember. And, I was like, I don't know if I like it. And then watching it this time now and really focusing, God, it's shot up so high on my list. Like, I think The Goblet of Fire is probably my favorite, but then this might be a second.
I know why it is. It's because of all the Twilight you watch at your house. So you got the one Robert Pattinson one.
Maybe. But I like the games. It's like, I like the Olympics of wizards too.
That is cool. I like meeting the other schools and stuff like that. This was this has always been my favorite Harry Potter of all the Harry Potters. I think because of the tonal shift, it didn't feel like a kid's movie anymore. But have you read the books? How big of a Potter head are you?
Yeah, so not a giant Potter head, I guess you could say, but my wife definitely is. She loves them. She has all the books. When we went there, she got like a signature copy, because here it's called the Sorcerer's Stone, right? But for them in the UK, it was called the Philosopher's Stone. And they ended up changing the name because they didn't think it would work in the US. And so, so she's a massive fan. She's read all the books. And I kind of let her be the bigger fan and teach me about it, which is awesome. That's pretty rare for us when it comes to like movies and pop culture things. But yeah, I love this world, and it's undeniable what it's done for pop culture in general. And us going to see the sets and the costumes and seeing more of the behind the scenes, I think I've become more of a fan. Plus the video game that came out was awesome.
Yeah, very good.
But I'm not as big of a fan. But what about you?
Yeah. I really appreciate them. I really like them, but this came out the same time as Lord of the Rings, and Lord of the Rings is where you chose which way you wanted to go, and I was just old enough to where I was like, kids movie or not, so I went Lord of the Rings instead.
Me too.
Completely appreciate these. Watched all of them. I haven't read all the books. I'm just now kind of in the middle of the first one, and but for those because this is one of those fandoms where like I don't know if we know enough about it. Like, luckily you have firsthand experience going to the set. But I think in the future, maybe even this year, you know what? I'm going to promise this year, we're going to do one of the other Harry Potter movies, and we'll bring on far more knowledgeable people. Because Squeaks also is my corner pocket for Harry Potter. Read all the books, and he's, knows all that stuff like that. So we'll bring on Christina and Squeaks to educate us on Harry Potter lore.
I need it. Yeah, definitely. But just from the fandom aspect too. Man. And also, like, this place was so booked up, the Warner Brothers studio in London, it was crazy. Like, we almost didn't even get a ticket there. I had to buy a way too expensive ticket to even take this tour. And it is so ingrained in the culture in London. Like, it's amazing. It's kind of branched over here. It's kind of what I would imagine Mad Max is in Australia or something.
Okay.
It's like so Australian. Well, this is so UK. It's everywhere, along with like Paddington. And people there, like, this is their Star Wars. It's awesome. And I love it for that. And also, like, it's just a really amazing world. But I don't think any of that would be as impactful if it wasn't for John Williams. And the way this movie starts off, just with that slow little notes, the da, 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 which we probably have already played right now in the intro. But
we're playing it just because you just did that. As long as you reference it, I'll play it.
But it's so damn good. I think this movie, it goes so many different directions. And I think we should break it down because I think there's a lot of beats in it that we should talk about.
Let's do that. Let's get our breakdown in. I will be doing the breakdown for us this time, guys. So bear with me and let's begin. We start off with the Dursley household. Harry Potter accidentally, quote unquote, inflates his Aunt Marge, who I absolutely hate her, and she flies away. Harry runs away from home, showing that this is, again, a big turn into a teenage life now. It finds the night bus, and it ends up seeing like the leaky cauldron and another side of the wizarding world outside of the school. He learns about Sirius Black and his whole Azkaban prison life. He gets back to Hogwarts, and we learn about the Dementors, who he has an encounter on the train, and he's also defended by his new teacher, Remus, who will be Remus Lupin, who will be his defense against the dark arts teacher, which is always like a cursed position at the school. Uh, there's all kinds of different things going on. He learns about how to protect himself from the Dementors. He's working with as a new mentor with Lupin. There's all kinds of mysterious things going on, like a map that shows where people, which is such an iconic part of the franchise now.
The Marauders map, so cool.
The Marauders map, yeah, which shows where everybody's at, and he finds out there's somebody who's still alive, Pettigrew. And he's starting to learn more about the Marauders themselves, which were basically his parents' version of his friendship group that he has, that were sitting there kind of like troublemakers and good kids. Tension rises with Snape and Malfoy. Just long-time franchise tension is starting to build over. We see finally that, and by the way, in the background, how Hagrid's hippogriff, Buckbeak, gets in trouble. Oh gosh, and then is executed. But then we have that. Yeah, we have the time turner situation kick in, and we get to go back time, which is one of my favorite parts about this movie, and I forgot about it. And we get to see everything through another time stuff. Yeah. And they get to fix things, but also keep things the same, meaning that they're in a time loop that has always existed. We end off with everything being resolved, and some lessons learned along the way, showing that like you have to defend the little guy, the outcast isn't necessarily the wrong person, and the future of Harry Potter is set.
Nice. Well done. Well done. Yeah, I love it. There's something so incredible about this movie. It's Alfonso Cuarón, I think, is the director. I'm not probably saying it. There's probably an R I'm not rolling in there. But
right.
But yes, I love it. And you're right. This is that movie in the franchise that shows, hey, you know, they're no longer kids. They're becoming young adults. And there's a lot that is shown in this movie that's very subtle that you learn as an adult. And also the music is also kind of telling you. But yes, we get to see Harry actually like really angry this time, which is very unique for his character. And he ends up kind of storming out. And he thinks he's going to get in trouble because they're not supposed to do magic outside the school. And then, yeah, there's like all these different crazy special effects. Now, you talked about the night bus. And at the studio, there was such a cool, they had the night bus basically split in half. So you could see inside, like kind of landscape wide.
Oh, cool.
And the way they did it, so the beds were on tracks, so they would slide back and forth, right? Obviously, you see it as they zoom through the city streets. And so what they did was they took one of those red buses that you see in London, and they really are everywhere. They're fantastic and really easy to get onto. They're very cheap. It's an awesome way to travel. But they took one full bus, and then they cut off the top of it and then stacked it on top of the regular section. And then they also added extra weight to the bottom so that when it would drive around the city, it wouldn't just tip over and fall. So that thing was actually really functional, and it could actually drive through the city. It was pretty wild. It's so tall. It's awesome. Cool. Yeah.
It adds so much to the franchise, I think, at that point, because before this, we're told about magic outside of the school, but we're not really shown it. And now we're seeing what happens to these kids when they graduate school. And they do get functional jobs that do involve, magic, and kind of the found families that you make in school can last beyond that, because we're seeing these little friend groups and how history works with them. Even the teachers seem to have bonds outside of the school that still reflect what they were like when they were kids. And it's, again, showing that next evolution of the children growing up themselves.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, it's also interesting how they're all tied together. It's a small world, and I love it. The relationships also seem to take a little bit of a turn in this one. They definitely feel deeper. One scene, though, I want to shout out in particular that's kind of unique for this movie as opposed to some of the other ones, is like some of the kids are just hanging out. So when Harry and Ron and some of the other Gryffindor kids are in their room, they're eating those jelly beans that make them animal noises. It's such like a nice moment in it. And I think the music kind of perfectly makes it a little bit whimsical and fun. Yeah. And then you get those crazy sound effects in there. But it's something you don't always get in the other movies, with them just kind of existing in this world. And I think that really adds a lot to this movie.
Yeah, that again, it itself shows maturity, because I think in the first two movies, which I have to find the director. I had the director. I don't remember.
Christopher Columbus.
Thank you. He directed the first two movies. And his take was, again, like leaning in on like these kids are constantly getting their mind blown by the world they're in. But after a couple years, and like these kids, when they were going into the first year, would get advice from the older kids. Well, these are the older kids now. And the way that they're just hanging out at their camp is actually how you would hang out too in school. And so it's just like add magical elements, sure, but they're kind of just chit-chatting about the girl in school or whatever. We see that a lot in the next movie too, where it's a lot about like, oh God, relationships and stuff. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah,
What do you
I
think
think this.
about? Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say this is the first time we also kind of see Hermione kind of leaning on Ron a little bit more. And there's
Yeah.
that part where they meet Buckbeak, and a branch snaps. She gets scared. She grabs Ron's hand.
Yeah.
Later on, when they think Buckbeak gets killed, she kind of holds on to Ron more, and you start seeing maybe there's like some romance here. And I think for a lot of people, at least for me, it was like, doesn't she want to get with Harry? Like Harry's the
Right.
main guy, But I'm like her and Ron, and I think it's weird to say like I've kind of made peace with it, but it makes a lot of sense now when you see what they set up in this movie.
I felt,
You know what I
I
mean?
felt the opposite of that because maybe emotionally she leans on Ron, but intellect, she definitely leans with Harry because like with the whole time
Right.
turner adventure, that's just their adventure. Ron's not involved
Mhm.
in that at all, and it feels like it would be a moment to bond them more. So
Right.
it's so complicated. It's a real Leia situation. If it wasn't for the fact that they just threw in the whole like, oh, she's your sister thing, we'd probably have the same conversation with Luke and Han.
Very true. Very true. I think now, though, now that I've kind of come to grips with how it ends up, it works better for me. It's kind of like How I Met Your Mother. Like at first, I hated the ending of How I Met Your Mother. I'm like, what? We just get the mom. Spoiler alert for How I Met Your Mother, but you've had like a decade now, however long, right?
And we covered it here.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like I've kind of come to terms with it, and it makes sense in a way, showing what they set up in this movie. Because there's 8 movies. This is movie 3. So you have 5 movies to kind of get on board with it. And yeah, and so I think it's kind of works better for me now. But I think that was just a really cool aspect too of like having these characters mature. We then get into Ron kind of telling Harry Potter, and everybody's kind of telling Harry about, he doesn't know at this time, his godfather, Sirius Black, played by the amazing Gary Oldman. And gosh, he's such a cool addition. But the way they kind of have his wanted posters up in the bar or in the pub, and this ominous threat that could be invading the school, it's just really exciting, and it's very subtle, and it builds a lot of tension in the movie.
And I think that leans on, again, being a kid, because there are things where you're told this is bad for you, and there are things where you feel this is bad for you. And in this movie, the best example is you're being told the entire time Sirius Black is bad for you, but the ones chasing Sirius Black are the Dementors, and they literally strike fear in you. And they so there's this whole thing where it's like, I don't feel like Sirius Black is a real threat. I feel like it's the Dementors. And later on, when Harry is faced with the decision to attack Snape and give the other guys a chance to run, he does that. And he leans on like, this doesn't feel right. I got to go with what feels right. And that's Sirius Black and Lupin, and attacks Snape instead. So I think that's something too, where again, that's something we're learning along the way, is sometimes you have to go with your gut, and you have to go with what you've learned and developed over time, and not what you're being told all the time, because that might not necessarily be accurate.
Right. Yeah, it's a lot of Harry deciding what his history is and his legacy is, right? Because everybody up until this point is like, Harry, you're incredible. You stopped the one who shall not be named. I'm not going to even name him on this podcast. But it's like, there's so much of, he's told what his legacy is. And yes, I agree with you. He is now in this movie learning what his legacy is. And we'll definitely have to dive into the whole time travel aspect, but we see it when he becomes his own Patronus, like, right, where he thinks it's his dad, because, hey, 2 other people who were dead now are suddenly back. We see with Peter Pettigrew and everything, but he has to step in and be his own protector in a sense, really stepping into his own shoes, or his own legacy, if you will.
And that's another reflection on reality versus perception, right? Because the other times we're getting that again, we're kind of leaning back on the Sirius Black thing, but also on the fact that like Harry thought, oh, he needs somebody to come save him. No, he's saving himself. Think about like the werewolf situation. Everybody, oh, werewolves are bad. We have to make him not a teacher at the school anymore. He saved the kids. He's a good guy, but everybody just judges him. The Hippogriff. Hippogriff's not a bad guy. We all know that. I can't remember his name. He's such a
Buckbeak or Hag. Dang it, Slytherin kid, Slytherin boy.
I know. Yeah. I'm hearing the Malfoy. There it is.
There it is.
But Buckbeak is a good animal. It's just that he got approached wrong and stuff like that. And that all goes back to the whole thing where it's like not perception can be deceiving, and you have to go with your gut. But going back to that Patronus, you can save yourself. You can trust yourself. I think that might be the theme going forward throughout all this. I'm trying to think of other situations where it's like, you can't judge the book by its cover. You can't go off of other people's biases and stuff like that. You have to go off of your own.
I think you even see it with Emma Thompson. where she plays that professor that reads the tea leaves divination, I think it is. And she's saying all these things. Hey, you're going to have this bad past. Hey, you're going to die soon. And Hermione has to push against it. And they kind of do. She even has this prophetic vision, which I think in the books is one out of the two prophecies she's ever gotten correctly. And yeah, like, just because she's the professor and telling them this is how you're going to see the future, it doesn't necessarily mean that. They again have to decide their own future. And I love that part because it's also a sign that something's up with Hermione. And all of a sudden she's just popping up everywhere. And I love this detail because it's very subtle. And then you find out later on how she's doing this. And then it also becomes a big plot point for the ending of the movie.
It becomes a plot hole for Harry Potter as a whole, though. Because going forward, how many times did you scream at the top of your head, time turner? Somebody use a damn time turner and stop this. Right. But as soon as this movie started, they forget about it. They're fighting he who should not be named at the end, and you're just like, time turner back.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, what happens to it? I also feel like the invisibility cloak kind of goes away. He still gets to use it in this one, which is awesome. And kind of messes with Malfoy and his goons and stuff in the forest, which I also love. But you're right. What happens to it towards the end? We're gonna have to deep dive on that in a future episode.
Yeah, I would love for there to be just some sort of explainer, like, oh, you guys were out too long, or your wine time too long, or whatever, and it broke it. That would have been enough for me. Then it would have actually added some almost like a ticking clock kind of thing. Funny, actually, there's a lot of, I don't know if you guys have noticed this in this movie, a lot of ticking sounds, a lot of stills held on clocks for a while, explaining that there's going to be a time travel thing at the end of this. But yeah, that would have added a little bit more urgency. That's the word I'm looking for, to this whole situation if that time turner broke. But it didn't break. So it's like, even if they messed up when they went back in time to fix this, go back in time and fix this.
100%. Yeah, you're right. I think it should have. Yeah, I'm glad it's working and functional in this movie. But you're right. In future movies, that would have been so simple to explain away. I love it. I found out. Yeah, her name, Professor Sybil Trelawney, too. She has a kooky prophetic vision, but I think she's even kind of playing more into that. This is the story. We see it later on with Snape, too, when Professor Lupin all of a sudden isn't in class anymore. And they ask, hey, what happened to him? He's like, it's none of your business, basically. Turn to page 394. And then, all that.
It's so funny that you do that. I whenever I watch this movie, I say that with him. Did you do the same thing?
100% every time.
Why did that stick with us? The way he says it, it's like so perfect.
Yes, because he says it in multiple movies, the same page number. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so it's interesting because you're like, why is he so stuck on this number? And yeah, it comes up in multiple movies. So that's why, it gets ingrained in you.
I didn't even know that. And like when he's about to say it, I'm like watching it's like 394. Like I just knew it, and that's because they did. Oh, they tricked me. Those bastards.
Yeah. Another interesting fact. If you look at Sirius Black's wanted poster, he's number 390, and he's like the fourth of something. I can't remember if he's like the fourth death dealer or something. Yeah, he's like one of the four. So it's maybe a sign to what Sirius Black is within that group of him and Harry's parents and Professor Lupin.
That's it, huh? Because he's the fourth marauder outside of the Harry. But we don't know that in this point in this movie. We learn that later on that he's actually one of them.
Exactly. And that's what's so amazing about this movie is it also sets up, again, you're getting a lot of the history that we got from the first two movies, but it is setting up so much down the line in the later movies. Again, kind of referencing the Ron and Hermione thing. It's like really subtle implants here that he just does amazingly well. Another thing you called out too, that what I love about Alfonso Cuarón in this movie is that the transitions are immaculate. And the music perfectly plays into it. And the music is also hinting at to what the next scene's going to be. Yeah. So, there's a part where Harry's like, someone's coming to kill me. It then cuts to the rat or Scabbers. We know it's Peter Pettigrew later on in the movie. But the music's kind of hinting maybe the next killer is this, not Sirius Black. Or when Harry's sitting in the clock tower and it's changing seasons. That is another sign of like, this is a more internal, methodical moment for Harry. And also, like, he's really nervous and also changing his mood. It's not the typical school year for him, basically. And that music sets it up along with such a beautiful, amazing transition, along with, like, the wardrobe. So, yes, there's a lot of hints there.
Let's talk about Alfonso's directing a little bit, because it is such a big change. And I want to touch on one thing you mentioned, the clues that are being put in this movie. I don't think we had so many clues or, foreshadowing in the first two movies. Again, tonal shift, but also that means that what they're expecting out of their audience is elevated as well, not just what they're showing you, but what they expect out of you, if they're giving you more foreshadowing. But in this movie, of course, the color palette changed and went to blues, and we had introduction of a handheld shaky cam. It was new in this movie, and a lot of the transitions and a lot of the cuts were faster. So it was all like ramping up, like not only the foreboding, the darkness, but also the speed of things. Like everything felt like it was paced up when things had to get quick. Did you feel any of that over the first two?
Well, I love it. I mean, this is a John Williams staple of like setting the tension and also making things speed up or feel like it's speeding up when it needs to and slow down when it needs to. So yes, I love that. There's a part too where, where they go in through the wardrobe and it flips the mirror right when they see the boggart.
Oh, what a cool shot.
So cool.
So cool.
But if you listen to the score with it too, it's really setting up what this next scene is going to be. And I feel like it's almost magic in its own way that John Williams is doing, along with these incredible transitions. We know that they have to set up the camera and film one thing, and then they set it up somewhere else, and like transitions allow you to go from one scene to the next. But it's beautifully done. It's so seamless. That's one of the cool things about this movie. And also, again, the music is really helping you as an audience feel or get ready to feel what you need to for the next scene. It is so good. But I think a lot of this builds up to, again, the maturity of it, and when something scary is going to happen. They even play with it in the sound effects too, with the ticking time clock, like you were saying, or when Peter Pettigrew's like running on the wires as the rat, or Scabbers coming in, or Buckbeak. There's just so many moments where it just is like setting up how you should feel about the scene.
Yeah, the part where he's flying with Buckwheat, I think his name was.
Buckbeak. Yeah,
Buckbeak. It's kind of like a moment of respite from all this, and then it's like, oh, there's joy. Hey, remember, you don't have to worry about anything. And then it comes to doom real quick. And again, playing with that music. I want to make sure I've been playing a lot as the editor. I know where I'm putting the music in as I'm talking, but of course, but right now I want to make sure. In the beginning of this episode, we talked about the Harry Potter music, and I used the first movie's Harry Potter music, all wonder. And now I'm going to focus on, let's play the Prisoner of Azkaban Harry Potter music. And I want you guys to carefully listen to the subtle changes that John Williams put into the score, where suddenly there's this foreboding underneath it. And we talked about that with Jurassic Park, where there's fear and wonder. This one is foreboding and wonder. It's a stark tone that's shifting. And you guys are hearing that now. That's something that he evolves over the entire franchise. It keeps getting more complex and changing over time, but always reminding you of when those doors opened up and you saw those candles floating from the first movie. Still reminding you that this is a magical world, but we're different now. But we still belong to this world. It's such a John Williams. Other than, I think it's Star Wars is the only other one where he has a franchise to work with, not just a singular movie. Well, Jurassic Park as well, but if we're looking at like Harry or the Empire's Imperial March or whatever from Star Wars, like those are so signature throughout the entire franchise. I think Harry Potter is the same thing, where it's like such a signature throughout the entire franchise.
Yeah. John Williams throughout his career, again, amazing documentary on Disney Plus about John Williams' life. But he was always a musician. His parents were musicians, and his dad played drums on like a late night talk show. And you didn't have a choice. If you grew up in his family, you had to play music. His dad is the one that kind of forced him into piano, and he never thought he would make a living off of it. Or no, I think he thought that was the only way he would make a living, is if he had to play music. So he also was this person that was so trusted by directors that they would always bring in him. Obviously, Steven Spielberg. Yep. And then George Lucas. But he also was such an integral part to making these movies happen, because he understood the tone and what the directors wanted. And I think this is another thing where he kind of adds that in. But yes, Star Wars very much so. Jaws very much so. He just kind of understood what a musical construction, how that could tie to your feelings. And again, he nails it here.
I would love to sit in the room of the editor, director, and John Williams in the room together in an editor's booth, crafting this, because you could tell in a way that I don't think we feel in a lot of other movies, how integral all three of that triangle were together in creating this. And they lean on each other so much. All these shots lean on each other so much with the sound and stuff. It just blends seamlessly. And I know that goes to John Williams and his work with directors in the past, and I mean, Alfonso's a new director to this franchise, and he still gives him his own feel, but ties you into the old ones. That would have been an amazing conversation to sit in on.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. But it's also like if you want to know something about John Williams and his working relationship with Steven Spielberg and George Lucas, again, can't talk about that documentary enough. It's really awesome. But yeah, he's a genius. He's a genius, and this movie is not nearly as good without his soundtrack on it. It's incredible, incredible. Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think. I think did we talk enough about the time travel aspect? Because I know that you're such a fan of it. I know that you and I appreciate the hell out of it too. We saw it in Agatha. You've talked about it in Star Trek. I would really want to dive a little bit deeper into that element of the movie.
I love me some timey-wimey stuff. I'm going to challenge you to a month of Back to the Future one of these days.
Nice.
This has a lot of Back to the Future too, actually. I love time travel because it's a trope that we all are well aware of, and a lot of us will see it coming. But throughout the whole movie, it's hinting that it's coming. When it's happening, you're rewatching the movie you just watched, but through new eyes. I always love when something is happening because time travel already happened. I'm such a sucker for that. And they did a really good job with this. We saw where like Harry got hit by the rock. Well, when the first time you're watching this, I mean, like I'm talking the first time you watched this, you're like, well, oh, somebody's watching them. Somebody's throwing a rock at Harry to get his attention. Somebody's doing this. Somebody's doing that. You don't know it's them. Mm-hmm. And so the second time you're watching it, you get to reflect back on the movie you saw, and you're like, oh, this is, and it just makes you kind of wonder. And I'm always a fan. It's sci-fi's, one of sci-fi's greatest features is that when you get out of the movie theater, you continue to think about the what ifs. And this movie sets a lot of that up. And you're always thinking about that time turner now.
Absolutely. The what ifs is like now when you watch it and you see Dumbledore taking the commissioner out, you know, when they're going to come and basically kill Buckbeak, he's kind of pointing off in the opposite direction. He's distracted. Yeah. So it also makes me wonder how many times that Dumbledore had to replay that day so you knew what happened. It's like, did he have his own time turner? Because he was setting up so much in it as well.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, it's really cool. It's really interesting. Those are one of those thoughts. But yes, it is amazing when it's already been done and it's been successfully done because you went back in time and did it. And this was so tight. This is probably in the fun facts, but one thing that's incredible, after they had already lived the day and they had gone back, Harry and Hermione, and they see themselves down looking at Hagrid's hut, in the doorway one, you could see just a little hand, and that's Hermione's. And I'm not kidding. It is like, depending on how big your TV is, it's minuscule. There's no way anybody could have caught that in a theater the first time unless you got the DVD or, you know, you went back purposely to see if she was there in the in a second viewing. And it's so tiny. Like you literally have to zoom in like crazy, but it's there. Cool. And it's, another tribute to Alfonso, adding in every little detail, even to the point where the kids are standing. If you look at the perspective from the other shot, they're perfectly hidden by something to where they would have been blocked out in the initial viewing. Oh, wild. Man.
You know, that's one of the things we don't talk about often, but in filming, blocking is so vital. There's literally a person's job on set to make sure people are still standing on their marks exactly the way they were when they do cuts and stuff like that. And to think that they added that extra element of difficulty of like, oh, it's narratively important now that the blocking is 100%. It's crazy.
It's great. And yet somehow we still get Starbucks coffee in Game of Thrones. Like how
the highest budget show ever. Yeah, I know.
Right. Or in The Mandalorian, there's like Steve in the corner, like a dude in jeans. In like one thing in a doorway that they
Lord of the Rings, Gandalf the Mighty has a nice digital watch while he's swinging.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh my God. But yeah, I mean, it happens, but that just shows how tight they did it in this movie. And every stone, like he never left any stones unturned. Every detail was just perfectly scrutinized. So good. So good.
Yeah. And I think that adding that element of difficulty, adding that element of sci-fi, you know, it was a lot of fun as a viewer to revisit that and also give you a chance to, because I think the scene in the tree was so important, of course, revealing stuff. And watching it now, watching this movie, this is my number one of the Harry Potter movies. And if I feel like a Harry Potter movie, I'll put this one in over all the others. So I've seen them more than the others, but I will say that, that scene in the tree is kind of frustrating, right? Because it's like, can you guys just say that you're going after the rat, not Harry? It would have solved everything immediately, but you got to remember the book was written for kids, you know, in a way you have to kind of justify that.
Also, that scene was different than the books. So in the book, somebody else actually discovers Peter Pettigrew, but it would have gave too much away in the movie. So
Oh,
they
cool.
did rewrite that scene. And you're right. It is frustrating when you've already seen it, but when you're watching it for the first time, you still think Sirius is a bad guy.
Right, right,
So it
right.
seems like it plays, and then all of a sudden you think, no, not Professor Lupin. He can't be evil too.
Yeah,
And the last thing you would think about is Scabbers. You know, Ron's trusted rat that you've been with for
right.
3 movies is now the villain. You're like, wait, what? So much of it is amazing from a first time viewing. And it is one of those things now that you know becomes frustrated in later viewings. But
Yeah.
it makes it even more incredible, I think, the first time you watch it.
Well,
So it's, yes.
with the element of time travel, when you're frustrated, and then the reveal happens, and all this betrayal happens, and then you go back in time, and you're watching it. You see them go into the tree from the outside. You're like, this is our chance to fix what we just messed up. And I like
Right.
how it invites the audience to want to fix what just broke too, like Harry and Hermione are doing. It makes
Mhm.
you feel the emotions of the characters in that scene. Again, music's involved, but that's such a fun element to this movie that you feel like you're in it with them. That is
Mhm.
cool. That's hard to do.
So true, so true. And I think Hermione says enough in there that kind of, because you know you're feeling what Harry's feeling, but I think she
Mhm.
says enough to where you're like, she's right. We can't change this. But she even says like, Harry, do you know what happens to sorcerers who mess with time? Like, you know, bad things happen. And you're like, okay. And he's like, I want to kill him now. And she's like, no, that's going to mess up things, right? And
Right.
she says enough there to where you're like, he can't just jump in. It would be so easy to run in there and get Scabbers or Peter while you know this moment is happening, but he can't. The rules of the time travel, I think, are established enough to where he would be messing things up,
Yeah.
and yet he's the reason why he's able to save himself. You know, the quote he says, like, you know, I already knew I could do it because I already seen myself do it. Doesn't that make sense? And it's like, no, but
No.
also it completes this loop in a very
Yeah,
satisfying way for me.
it really does. It's
Uh,
it's so good. Um, I want to talk a little. We don't talk about costuming ever. You know that we need to talk about costume a little more often.
Ooh,
And in this movie,
yes.
it's pretty important because in the first two movies, kids are in school uniforms the whole time, no problem. In
Hmm.
this one, we see them dressed like us, dressed as normal kids, and you slowly start to see during the time travel stuff, like their clothes get battered, and so when they come back through that door to see Ron again, you got to think they left with clothes. I mean, like torn up a little bit. They were in the tree, but then come back even more damaged. I like to think of that visually through Ron's perspective, where it's like, you guys look like hell. You know what happened to you guys? So
Right.
it was subtle.
No, so right. I was gonna say it was like, especially for Ron, who was with them, and then they disappear, and then they walk back in the room, and then their clothes are all dirty and like
Yeah,
mangled and stuff. You're like, wait, what? What? How did you get there? It would be so confusing for Ron. But yes, the costume is fantastic. One thing there, they had all the costume for all the different movies, and this one is unique to your point, not using uniforms. That was another decision by Alfonso Cuarón because he wanted to show them in a more kind of dressed down, but also their personalities. So
yeah.
he let them actually pick out their own clothes in a sense for
Oh, cool.
this movie. Yeah, they got to choose. And it's another thing too when they're in the school uniforms, all the kids have messy ties. In the
Mhm.
the first two movies, the uniforms are a lot more buttoned up.
Yeah,
But he thought if kids had to tie ties and do this and whatever, it wouldn't be so put together. And that's why you see their ties all messed up, and it's because they got to kind of do it for themselves.
yeah.
Yeah. And then also choose their own clothes later on when they go on the adventure. So it was such a unique choice. And I think it really does add a lot to this movie. One thing to your point, I love the costumes though.
Yeah.
The robes, the different colors that represent the different houses. It is amazing, and we got to see a lot of it at the Warner Brothers studio.
I
So
can't
cool.
remember the future telling professor, but one of the signature looks of hers that I remember from her going into the future is those
Mhm.
big ass glasses and how they made sure the camera shot amplifies her eyes, making her look almost more cartoony, lunatic, and like that was a costuming choice to do that, and it becomes such a signature to the character when they're able to like work together on that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, even Snape with the long black robes that he
Yeah,
wears, it kind of makes him more ominous. He kind of slinks. Them even figure out, which this is more of a fun fact, but the Dementors, for them to get the concept of how they would work,
yeah,
they actually dumped these skeletons in black robes and put them underwater. So you would get that
Hmm,
flowing effect. And then they
interesting.
digitized that. And one thing that the director also kind of had some liberties with in the books, they couldn't really fly up really high, or they don't talk about Dementors flying, but he added it in there to kind of show that Harry wasn't safe anywhere, on the ground or off the ground too. So it was kind of a unique thing that they kind of took some liberties with from the book.
I would love to hear from what the hey listeners, if you guys are book readers, let us know what you felt about liberties like that being taken. To me, it feels like it enhances the movie, but maybe it was something that bugged you. As you and me both have read source material in the past, and also it bugs us when they change things.
Right.
But I would like to hear if
look
that
at
bugs
you, Thor and Love and Thunder, with Gore the God Butcher.
Here we go, Gore the God Butcher, such a wasted character. Anyways, so I want to go over some of the themes on this real quick before we move forward. Fear and protection. I think there's a lot of fear, figuring how to protect yourself, choosing your mentors, choosing your protectors well. I think like it would have been easy for Harry to just like lean on the good guys at school, the ones that are telling him what to do, but instead he goes with the teacher that's on the outs and Sirius Black, and seeing that like, no, these people actually have my, and he chooses him as his godfather and stuff like that. Like he was given the title as godfather, but Harry chose him as a godfather in the end.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was important. Friendship and loyalty. We see the loyalty tested not only in Harry and his crew, but also the generation above that, the Marauders. They had loyalty and friendship as well, and one of them betrayed the others, and how that's changed the dynamics of everybody in the group. So you have to have loyalty for your friends. And then that coming of age and inner turmoil, where growing up, we struggle with turmoil the entire time. And when you lean on others for help, you can find success. But if you just turn inward, you'll become, distraught, like we saw with Lupin, who was alone. And in the entire time, he's trying to be the better person, but he's constantly being alienated. And it's only when he's reunited with Sirius Black. And we saw when he's turning into the werewolf, Sirius goes to him right away. He's like, your heart, that's who you are. Who was there doing that for him while Sirius Black was in jail for 12 years? Nobody. Lupin was alone. So it shows that like you have to lean on friends to grow through that. And that's something that Harry, Hermione, and Ron are learning right now, which will serve them well when we get to like Death Hallows and stuff like that.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is, again, one of those, we always talk a lot about family movies and stuff, and really done well. This series, all throughout, it's done so well. From them introducing themselves to Harry, to them getting into these ventures and just leaning on each other. And that's also what's cool about, I feel, the Harry Potter series. Is like, yes, he is the main character, and yes, he's the one that has to stand up to Voldemort, but he couldn't do any of this with his friends. And also, in a lot of sense, he's not the best one. Like, Hermione is so much smarter than him. Ron seems to be a little bit braver than him. He really just has to like lean on his friends, and that's just it's just so well done. And the way they kind of stick with him through thick and thin, I love it. You're right. And yeah, I love this movie too, because it is that transition to, hey, you're not kids anymore. That's one thing I'm not a fan of kind of later on in the movies, is like, I love seeing them go to the classes. I love seeing them learn and the adventures at Hogwarts. I mean, Hogwarts in itself is just the most amazing set and place ever. I'm trying to think of other things, like Star Wars has all these individual planets, and even the Avengers movies now, it's in all these different locations, but Hogwarts being this central location with mystery and wonder and feeling thousands of years old, and like the gothicness, but also the epicness. And yeah, another thing Alfonso does in this movie too, he shows you more of the grounds. We start high and go to the cliffs, the bridge, that crooked bridge that's there. Such a unique kind of set piece, and so many amazing conversations take place in this movie and in subsequent movies after it. It is just so well done for a set. Yeah, I can't wait to. I have some fact in here from my trip that I'll have to read. Oh, actually, I got it. So set construction. One of the quotes from the set director, Paul Hayes, he says, "Every day was a different challenge, but everything the art department came up with, we achieved." It was just absolutely brilliant. So cool.
A great point you bring up there. I kind of am thinking back on it. One of the differences from the first two movies to this one is we did expand the grounds more, and everything felt a little more alive and chaotic in a way that the other ones were like, again, kind of reminds me of the Ties, where it was all real clean and stuff in the first two movies. And this one, it felt like a normal school in that way, where it's like, yeah, these ones are doing band practice over here, and it's like loud and noisy. These guys are over here doing gym class. That kind of got that vibe in this movie, where everybody was a little crazy, and it wasn't involving around just the points you got from Gryffindor or something like that. Like, it was a little bit more going on.
Yeah, it just feels more lived in. This was that movie too that made Hogwarts feel like, like there's wonder and amazement. And then obviously we have Chamber of Secrets and all that in the school too, but this one just felt grittier. It feels more real.
Yeah.
And yeah, from the staircase to what happens with all the portraits along the wall and the fat lady in this one. It's just so good. No stone is unturned. Literally every detail is fantastic in this movie. You're right. Maybe this is my favorite Harry Potter movie.
The more I think about it, the more I'm reassuring myself of that. Yeah, it adds the mundane to this magical world in a way that makes it more real. It's wonderful. I'm going over my notes real quick. The last thing I had on my notes, I've got everything else said. The last thing I want to make sure to mention is I like that Double Trouble song he puts in the beginning, John Williams, where they're holding the frogs.
With the frog choirs?
Yeah, I like that song.
Oh, dude, so good. That was not in the books too. That was something that they took liberty with. And yes, it's incredible because also it's like he created the lyrics for it, which is something I forgot. Oh, it's from Shakespeare. So he took a Shakespearean thing. Yeah, it's like some lines and he used that for the lyrics. And it was a unique thing that he kind of, I don't know if he came up with the idea of it, but he definitely came up with the song and the lyrics. And it just kind of is a unique way to set up the beginning of this year at Hogwarts. It was really, really cool.
To me, it felt like, all the other Harry Potter movies are Christmas. This one's a little bit Halloween, and so it kind of felt like a Halloween song to me. And I really enjoyed it. And then like the little ribbon at the end, it was a nice little touch. I'm making sure to say it a lot right now because we're going to be playing it underneath this section of the podcast.
No, totally. You're right. And now it makes me think this year going into Halloween, it's like, I want to be watching this movie as we lead up to Halloween. And then the other movies will be more, hey, happy Christmas, Harry. Happy Christmas, Ron. Yeah. Like as we get into that stuff more. So yeah, well said.
All right. I guess we've milked this pretty good. Let's get into some fun facts. You have a lot on this one, if I remember correctly. Do you want to start us off?
Yeah, it's funny. I have things that I'm literally just going to read off pictures at the Warner Brothers studio. They designed even like the Slytherin house so that it had Christmas themes too. We didn't really get to see a lot of their common room, but you got to see a lot of it actually in the video game.
Yeah, they did a great job at the common houses.
Absolutely. But the Slytherin common room is the only one ever seen on screen during the festive season in Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. The set is decked out with green garlands to match Slytherin's signature color and completed with games and snacks left by Hogwarts students during the Christmas breaks. Not only that, they also completely aged some of the set pieces there. They found authentic pieces and everything that was in there was pretty much handmade.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. Here's one for you. Director Alfonso Cuarón. By the way, I'm going to link to IMDb. I'm going to try to do that going forward. Link to the IMDb because we use a lot of those fun facts, and it's a really good resource for you guys. Director Alfonso had never read Harry Potter novels nor seen the first two movies when he was offered the job of the director. It was Guillermo del Toro, the legend, who convinced him, saying, "Don't be stupid. Read them immediately." Thank you, Guillermo.
Yeah, which is amazing. Yeah, it's crazy to think Guillermo del Toro is the reason why we got a great Harry Potter movie. It's like, what? Hollywood is a wild place, and I love like these little connections. So, okay, one thing about the Patronus. Let's see. So casting it, I don't know if this is a fun fact, but casting a Patronus is no easy feat. It takes a skilled wizard in the world of Harry Potter and an entire visual effects department in the real world. Part of their effort included the creation of a custom LED lit vest designed to be worn by a real living Scotsland deerhound to create the glowing effect of the Patronum in the natural environment. This is the last sentence. Yeah, in post-production, the visual effects department composited the digital Patronus with the practical lighting effects, creating a magical and very believable effect.
That worked out well too. It's a beautiful scene, beautiful shot. This is one of my favorite. Like they're all coming of age. We forget that about these kids. They're all like whatever 14, 15 right now. We all know what it's like being at that age. So during the filming of the sleeping bag scene, Harry Potter himself, Daniel Radcliffe, asked if he could be next to a girl he liked. With all the sleeping bags put out, he wanted to be next to her so he could chit-chat between scenes. Nice. So Alfonso, the director, Gambon, and Rickman all played a practical joke on Daniel Radcliffe and put a remote control whoopee cushion in a sleeping bag to toy with him as he's sitting there trying to flirt with the girl. And he tried to stay in character, but they kept... Oh God, what a set to be on.
Absolutely. If you want to see a clip of it too, you can probably search it, but also New Rockstars did an insane breakdown of this movie, like all the little behind the scenes.
I'll put it in the description
and they
as
show
well.
they show that clip. It is so good. So funny. Also,
Poor
there was
kid.
multiple animal actors. Hedwig was played by 4 different owls. Let's see, Crookshanks in this was played by 4 different cats. I don't know what happened to Scabbers, but Scabbers I think was also played by multiple rats. And so there's amazing thing because each of the different animals had different personalities. So Hedwig, there were some birds that or owls that were more friendly. There were some that got scared easy. There were some that just were dicks. And so depending on the scene, but they all had their individual skills. One was better at carrying things. One was better at sitting still. And so they had to bring in different animal actors depending on the scene, which was pretty unique. Yeah, it was something I would not have thought of. Yeah.
I didn't think about that. Like the animals only know one thing, so you have to make sure to rotate the animals out based on the story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Remus Lupin. I really like this character. By the way, the actor for the plays Remus Lupin? I don't have it up here. I'm looking it up right now.
Yep, I'll find it right now. Yeah.
Okay. I really was fond of him because of a movie called Dragonheart. Did you ever see Dragonheart?
Yes, I have. I don't remember it, but I was fan of him because of he played a character in the island of Dr. Moreau. That's what I liked him from.
Oh, okay. Well, in Dragonheart, he's the bad guy, and you hate him in that movie. So it's such a turn for you to be like so fond of him in this movie. He's the evil king in that one.
Oh, it makes it believable. I think he's kind of a bad guy with the turn with Sirius. Then
that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
So
and he's played by David Thewlis.
There we go.
David Thewlis.
So Remus Lupin is a very rare kind of teacher because he uses the kids' first name, not their surname. The only other two that do that is Dumbledore and Hagrid. So he calls him Harry, not Mr. Potter.
Oh, that might have been a sign to show that he's a good guy too.
Yeah,
like I wonder if that was kind of a go back and
hint.
watch it. Yeah, that's awesome. Plus, his name is a hint to him as well. Remus from Remus and Romulus, the 2 boys in Greek mythology that were raised by wolves. Yep. So thus him becoming a werewolf. You know,
and Sirius Black being the other wolf, being the other boy that raised by a wolf. Yeah, that's cool.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You got anything else for me?
No, I mean the last thing I'll say is we're kind of hinted at that an animagus and werewolves will be a part of the show. We have that class on it. And then when you see that wolf, Ron calls it a grim, but later on, the whole being an animagus and choosing that also helps. It also helps. I just lost his name. Dang it.
Remus?
Yes. It also helps Remus save the boys and also help his friend basically towards the end of the movie. So it's just, again, so tight. I love this movie for all the details and things they got dialed in.
It was heavy handed, but I do like the part where you face your fears with that Dementor box thing. And when he steps in front to save Harry Potter, turns into a moon. I liked that. That was fun that he's like, oh, okay, he's a werewolf.
God, yeah. That was so good. And the special effects on that too were incredible.
Yeah.
So good.
It turns into a balloon after that and stuff. Mm-hmm. All right, here's another question for you. Last one, I'll go with not fun facts. What's your Patronus?
Ooh, that's
and what's
awesome.
your Harry Potter house? Ooh, there we go, double up.
Yeah, heck yeah. Okay, I'm glad you asked. Okay, so my Patronus, I wish it was. So one of my favorite animals. I have 2 favorite animals. One is a killer whale, but it's not that. I wish it was a white owl, because that's my other favorite animal. I love white owls, especially the barn owl. But it's not even that. It is a mouse. When I took it online.
Somebody's got to be the mouse.
Yeah, and it's me apparently. Yeah, I was like, oh, maybe it's the owl, maybe it's this. I eventually messed around because you can take the quiz online enough so that I could get the owl, but it wasn't my true answers. But what about you?
Mine was a hound. When I did that Potterverse quiz, it was a hound. So
that's pretty cool.
Right, I'm cool with that. I'm happy with that. That's not bad.
I like it. Well, yeah. What house?
My house is Hufflepuff. And I was like, oh, I can't believe I was Hufflepuff, whatever. I put that out online and all my friends were like, no shit, you're Hufflepuff. You didn't need to take the test. I'm like, oh, okay. I was hoping for Gryffindor, guys. But it's Hufflepuff, which I don't hate. But we were doing a thing where we were going to play the Harry Potter game. You had to pick the house that you got through Potterverse. So I was Hufflepuff, which ended up being pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, hey, you got Cedric Diggory, and he's probably one of the best kids that ever has gone to Hogwarts that we see. But I could see so much Hufflepuff in you, and yeah, it seems obvious. But it's like, that's who you are, and I love that about you. Yeah, and then mine might be obvious too. I don't know, but I'm a Gryffindor. And yeah, I love obviously the bravery, the standing for justice, and blah blah blah. Of course, I like Leonardo in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Captain America and all that stuff. So yeah.
That's interesting. I like Michelangelo, so maybe he's a Hufflepuff of the TMNT.
He would definitely be a Hufflepuff. Yes, exactly.
There we go.
Yep.
I don't know if we even need to rank these. These are so iconic. It's crazy to rank them, but of course, 5 stars. I mean, what do you?
Yeah,
I can't think of anything. I think
done.
at a certain point we can't rank these anymore because it's like Jurassic Park. When it's all the John Williams ones, you know what I'm saying? They're perfect movies. Of course they are.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's the thing. That's also a legendary part about John Williams. He's been a part of so many movies that you wouldn't change a thing.
Yeah.
It all just works still to this day. I think they'll work for the end of time. Special effects and all that will change, but if you really just look at what the movie's doing, what the characters are doing, and what the story's doing for you, and the feeling it makes, it's like you just wouldn't touch it. And yeah, I'm so happy we're doing John Williams. And it also, like, there's another movie that's coming up that's probably one of my favorite movies from the last time I watched it, from what I remember of it.
Mhm.
And I'm so happy to challenge you to it.
Well, what is
Next.
that movie? What's next on the docket?
Yeah, so this one, incredible. I love Tom Hanks. God, he's so amazing. And plus, you're getting another legendary actor, Leonardo DiCaprio. But I didn't even realize he did the score for this. But it's Catch Me If You Can.
What a great movie. And I think that's the part I'm excited about the most, is this is the one that I can't remember the score for. So now I'm going to be listening to how it made me feel this time ago. I mean, what a good movie, though. Just with the performances alone, I think are going to carry this one forward. And the fact that it's based on a true story, I always like that little aspect of it. So that's gonna be blasted. That's cool. Barry Allen. That a little fun fact that's always in there, that he goes by the name Barry Allen. That's cool.
Yeah. But yes, it's just amazing. And you're right. Like, when I think about this movie, I do kind of hear like the 60s notes and stuff, but I don't remember the score that well. But I think, I mean, this seems like it's a kind of big departure from some of the other scores he's done. So yeah, I think this is going to be a perfect variation, not only being a good movie, but also a different different note for John Williams, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So Catch Me If You Can is our next one. Let us know what you guys think about the movie. Let us know what your favorite Harry Potter movie is too. We're going to definitely be revisiting Harry Potter for sure this year with the experts. I promise you. Hit us up with those subscribes, reviews, follows. We appreciate it on all the social media platforms. If TikTok is still around, that one too. See how this week goes. Oh no.
Yeah, we'll see.
So sad.
Follow us on YouTube and all the other places though, if you haven't yet.
Yeah, we're definitely on YouTube now, and we've been on YouTube, but I'm cleaning up the thumbnails. They look sexier now. So we'll see you guys over there too. All right, guys. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Aloha.